All right, in tonight's clash, this simple question: a friendly flight or the most costly air tickets ever? Because once we heard that Attorney General Eric Holder and 3 other top government officials were flying out to Detroit, we started thinking that taxpayers could be picking up a tad more than just their plane tickets. Reports these folks stuffed a few $100 million in their carry-ons as well. And that has Scottie, Nell, Hughes sounding off, and Adam Lashinsky saying settle down. Now, Adam's always very, very calm. Scottie, right now, you're very hot and bothered. Why?
Very hot and bothered with a smile on my face. Because I think this shows 3 things. Either A, our accounting department is very inept and we just don't know where our dollars are. B, that
where did we come up with this $300 million?
Yeah, pretty much. B, there's more gold in Fort Knox than they're letting on, and the government basically wants to look like knights in shining armor and go in and rescue these cities. Or C, we've replaced the ink cartridge in Ben Bernanke's printer. So I think we have those 3 things to look at right now, but what we're doing is opening up Pandora's box, because now we're setting the stage that all these other cities on the verge of bankruptcy will be rescued.
Now, they're not calling this a rescue, Adam. They're calling these are just some friendly strategic investments, or whatever that terminology is. And there's no bailout being planned, no rescue being planned. But normally when you come with $300 million, you leave a lot of folks thinking that maybe that is coming. What do you say?
Well, the distinction in language here is this money being used to pay down the loans that Detroit can't afford to pay down? And the answer is no. It's federal money that was committed for a variety of other reasons that's being redirected to the things that the federal government is doing with it now. And so, you know, rather than choose from a menu of A, B, or C, I'd say what the federal government is doing in this instance is A, showing compassion for a city that needs some right now and doing some. And I want to stress the word some, Neil, because this just isn't that much money considering how bad things are in Detroit right now.
There are what, about 18 cities that are on the brink of default or in bad shape. If you gave each one $300 million and then you up the ante, that's what worries me, right?
Completely. It's Pandora's box. And now you're sitting here telling government officials in the city, go on, spend what you want.
I don't think they're saying that. By the way, neither the local officials nor the national officials, you know, instill much confidence. But I just wonder what it leads to, because other cities, LA's in a world of hurt, Chicago's in a world of hurt, and they're going to expect, all right, you just did $300 million for them. Could we have a few hundred?
Nobody wants to sit here and cut teachers' pay or make the hard cuts to firemen's salaries or police salaries, and especially if you're elected office looking at re-election time. So all this is saying, you know what, let's not make the hard cuts, because in the end, the government's going to back us up. And I think what we've done is taken a safety net and literally turned it into a hammock.
All right, well, we're not at that stage yet. I hope you're wrong there. But the one thing here that worries me is the timing of this visit and the money that was found and what it could be used for, because it does kind of intimate that there is a sort of a backstop there. You're quite right. I agree with the math. $300 million doesn't even come close to addressing the $18 billion in arrears this city finds itself in. But it could be a signal that will help get you over the hump as you renegotiate, as you do these contracts, abrogate some, redo others. And I think that, in a way, is just as destructive as bailouts and rescues that we saw 5 years ago, because it sets up this notion that you can go ahead and do risky things because the government's got your back.
Well, a couple of thoughts, Neil. One, we do have a political system that runs our country, and you know there's an alternative to that. That's to not have politicians and not have people who are accountable to the people. But if we're going to go that route, then we're going to have people whose timing we can question and whose motives we can question. I prefer that to some sort of dictatorship, and I think most everyone else does too.
I'm actually going for the dictatorship right now.
Well, if you were running things, Neil, that'd be one thing, but you're not. You know, they are.
No, but I do. I kid, but I seriously see the point. Yeah, but I guess what's bothering, and this is ingrained in our culture now, that ever since we rescued the banks and then the auto companies and helped kids in college in arrears on their loans, and on and on and on, there has been an expectation that if I screw up, someone in Washington is going to do something. They might not make me whole, Scottie, but they will help me out.
No, you're completely correct, and I think this is directly tied to why we need Washington's pushing for this debt ceiling to be raised. And it's kind of like a credit card. Nobody ever goes and says, I'm going to raise the limit on my credit card and go to a casino knowing that I'm going to win double and pay it all off. This is, I think, why this administration is pushing for this debt limit to be raised so that they can cover all these other bailouts they're going to have to come down the line.
So you're convinced it is going to lead. See, I don't share that. I don't think it's going to lead to a bunch of bailouts. I do think it's going to lead to a lot more money to sort of get them over the hump. But there's so many that need to get over the hump that we're going to be stuck paying for a lot of humps.
And I know better than to go up against your opinion. You're usually always right.
No, I read Adam's notes ahead of time, and I just said, okay, well, how can I argue?
That other side of it on that. Well, I know better than to go up against Neil, but I think the end result, is all honesty, is where are you going to sit there and say we're going to bail out Detroit, but not Birmingham? When do we start that discrimination?
Well, that is a good point. Where does that lead us? Adam.
Neil, we have a long-standing tradition in this country of the federal government helping out in times of crisis. I don't think we should change that. That's what's going on right now. So, yes, federal government will help other cities.
What if 18 cities are in crisis and each one needs at least $300 million? Then what do you do?
We in the media, for example, are doing the right thing in picking it apart, criticizing, saying, is this where the money should be spent? Is this the time? Is this a crisis? We keep doing our job. They keep doing their job. We do the best we can.
The media doesn't cover it.
This is what's
Outside of
going
you
on.
and us, and respective of the views that we might have, the media is not covering it. You know, it's not covering it. But
and you have to look at it. A crisis
it's on the front page of the New York Times today. I mean.
But the crisis is something that is not predictable. This was predictable. Neil, you've been saying it for years on your show. This is coming. A crisis is a natural disaster that happens in a day. This has been for years. And if we don't tie responsibility, which is what we were lacking in Detroit.
A crisis is when a city doesn't have firefighters to put out fires. That's a crisis.
But we knew that was coming. There was no responsibility planning
that's beside
for it.
the point.
Well, guys, we shall see, because the battle is on as to how much Detroit gets, how much is followed up, whether other cities get the same treatment, and away we go.